Welcome back, everybody, to another live stream. And today we've got three special guests and one international guest. We're going to be talking to members of the WTF Gravel Team. Before we get started, though, I do want to thank our channel supporters, you guys on Patreon, make all this content possible. So we have a little bit of a history with the WTF Bike Explorers. We've had individual founding members on the show at different points.
True.
Yeah, we've had Molly on, Noms, Sarah Swallow. She's been on twice. We've worked with Grichelle. And yeah, so long history, big fan of what they do. And it's been cool to see their trajectory from taking it from an idea to a summit to branching out into other kind of big programs like a team.
Yes.
All right. So before we get started, once again, as you guys know, we're all about the supple life, and it means different things. Yes, it is a reference to the suppleness of tires. But as my English teacher would say, that is the very first definition is often the most boring one. The secondary and tertiary ones are more interesting. And other layers of suppleness means being flexible, being accommodating, being inclusive. And that's why I'm super excited to have our guest today, the WTF Gravel Team, or three of you at least.
Hello.
You guys want to do a super quick introduction? Where you're from? And
yeah.
Who you are.
My name is Georgia, and I'm coming from Sydney, Australia, and I am on the WTF Gravel Team.
Cool.
There we go.
Do you want to go, Izzy?
Oh, okay, yeah. My name is Izzy, and I am the team dad of the WTF Bike Explorers Gravel Team, and I am located up in Seattle, Washington.
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia. Pronouns are she, her, and I am also a member of the WTF Gravel Team, and I am in San Jose, California.
Cool. All right. So I thought a good way to kick this off is, I was scouring the YouTubes, looking up what information there was on WTF and cycling, and there's very little. So we're going to assume that some people may be new to the vocabulary and to the concepts. So let's, who wants to break down, like, what is WTF and tying it into the WTF Bike Explorers?
I guess I can start.
All right.
So WTF has a somewhat long-ish history, but for those who don't know, it stands for women, trans, and transgender, and femme. And there's we don't have to go to like the historical context of where it started, but the six folks who started the WTF Bike Explorers back in, I want to say sometime in 2018, decided that they weren't really seeing themselves in the cycling scene. They all have kind of adventure cycling and gravel racing as their background. And so they came together, and it started out as a summit. It was a 3-day summit. The first one in 2019 was in Montana. The second one, 2018 was in Montana. The second one was in Oregon last year. And from that, Sarah Swallow, who is, I would say, the most into racing of the six original organizers, decided, I'd really love to take this community that I've built or helped build, and bring it into racing. And so she kind of reached out to folks who had been at the summit and, friends on the internet, and decided to start a race team. It's kind of cool because she thought she would get maybe like 5 people who would be, really stoked to race and be on a team that was, trying to break down barriers, and got something like 230 people interested. So we also have a squad for her folks who are a little bit more focused on some of the party pace, although I'm also very focused on party pace pretty much all the time. And now we are a team of 11 people, 3 of which who are on tonight.
Cool. So, as a team, I'm assuming one of your goals is to participate in the event, but what is the larger message that you hope to share by having such a visible team?
I think what we want to do as a team is kind of expand the definition of what it means to participate in races and what it means to be an athlete. I think now more than ever, we understand that bikes mean different things to different people. And I think it's really important, especially within the gravel scene, as I've heard Sarah mention this, it's still new. It's still kind of, well, some races are bigger than others, but a lot of them are still underground and grassroots organizing. So how can we set the tone and the precedent for future races to be better and to be funner and to be more inclusive for people who don't just want to land on the podium?
Mm-hmm. Cool. You have a question?
Well, I think that's an interesting point, is that not everybody who does an event, obviously, is gunning for the podium or is going to make it on the podium. So how much does that that racing aspect, that like trying to podium, play into having, you know, a gravel team, and how much of it is really that focus of working together and having a good ride?
We've got go for it.
We do have some pretty baller teammates, so you know, they could podium. But I think it's more that, like, I mean, these gravel races are hard, and the personal challenge is still massive. I mean, I never personally go into a race wanting to win or anything like that. Mostly it's just to like finish with a bit of grace or something like that. But I think like being able to be seen as strong riders and looking sick and being in like a really connected team and having sort of more fun than everybody else is, I mean, my goal for the team, just to make sure that we look good, feel good, and everybody wishes that they were us. Yeah.
I also think what's so fun about gravel racing in particular, is someone who I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I started racing 19 years ago on the road scene in New York City, and it kind of sucked really hard. And honestly, even as an adult, it never got much better because the focus was always on podiuming. And I think that what's great about these long races is that, you know, as Georgia said, you know, they're long and they're hard. And for me personally, my focus is like, can I do better than I did last year? Can I finish feeling good? Can I finish without vomiting? Can I beat my time? And like, for some people, you know, just as an example, like, you know, in Mid-South, there are folks who are finishing in 5 hours and there are folks who are finishing in 13 hours. And it's really great that there's this kind of nascent racing scene in the grand scheme of disciplines where anyone can show up. And it's, you know, yes, it's a race in that it's timed and there's someone who wins, but it's really just about pushing yourself and having fun. And if you're Georgia, looking good while doing it.
So here's a question: as in the spirit of doing better, like, how have you guys intentionally structured the team differently than kind of pre-existing team structures? Or
that is a good question. I've never been on a team before, so this is my first time. So maybe Izzy has more insight.
You know, the teams I've always been on have been pretty open, and they were never about like, are you fast enough? I was once not let onto a team because I wasn't fast enough or cool enough because it was in Portland. But I think that, you know, that when you look at teams who are sponsored, and we are fully sponsored, you know, we have kits and we have bikes and et cetera. You're looking at people who are fast, who are on the podium, who are perhaps well-known on the internet. And that's not the case with us. We wanted to be a team that was representative of the people who ride bikes and might not necessarily you know, be seen. And I think what's exciting is that we know we can continue to do better. There are 11 of us, but we would like to see a larger swath of the community represented. So it's really about just like, do you want to do this? Do you want to suffer, but also like help your teammates? And that's really about it. The requirements were, can you make it to 4 big races? And you know, are you willing to just like go hard? And a lot of people said yes. And so I don't even know if we know who the fastest person is, but it doesn't actually, I don't think it matters. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say Hannah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Hannah too. Hannah's amazing.
So Natalia, this is the first time you've been on the team. How has it changed your experience of cycling, and why did you want to be on the team in the first place?
So I first got interested through the Gravel Squad network that Sarah set up back in, was that September or October last year? But I signed up just out of curiosity because I had done a bikepacking trip with a few WTF bike explorers. Jay, I saw you on the chat. Jay was part of that ride. It was awesome. So after that, I was just kind of like, what would it be like to kind of set a goal with my bike? You know, I had never really set hard goals or tried to achieve something. And then doing that first bikepacking trip made me like really realize how satisfying it is to achieve something on a bike. So I wanted to keep that going. And so I saw that the gravel camp was happening. It was kind of a struggle because I didn't really have the funds to do it. I don't really have the fanciest gear or anything like that. And so when the requirements were listing, like you need tubeless tires, you need this, you need that, I was just like, what in the heck? But I learned. I opened myself to learning, and I applied for the S.J. Brooks Scholarship, which gave me a spot in the camp, and I was able to try out. It was really nerve-wracking because at camp we were separated into the party pace crew and then the not so chill group. And obviously the not so chill group is filled with people trying out, but it was also really intimidating because I was I wasn't the only person of color there, but I was definitely the only brown person in the group. And so it was kind of weird, but everybody was there, was so welcoming. And I think that's something that the team has been really good at addressing how our experiences could be better, how can we be more inclusive, how can we expand what we're doing. But yeah, I got on. I made it on, and I was so happy. And ever since that, I just loved it. I just loved connecting with my teammates every week and just being like, what are you up to? What are we doing? This is what I'm struggling with. Can anyone give me some advice on this? It's pretty awesome.
Right.
That is pretty cool. So obviously, I mean, you guys are kind of spread out over a diverse geographical area. So how do you come together to train and learn from each other, and especially now?
Georgia, you want to take that one?
We are. I mean, we're pretty heavy on the Instagram chat between each other, and we've got like Google Docs that are just coming out of our ears. And I say that I think we're probably talking like almost every day, and we are sort of sharing a lot about what our day-to-day lives are. So I mean, as a team, we're getting closer and closer because we're learning more and more about each other just as like friends, because you know, some of the teammates I haven't met before, and we're still trying to build like closeness and support each other, even though we are kind of far away. But we're still trying to figure it out. I think we do set up a lot of goals for ourselves, and we're trying to make it really clear cut what we should be doing cycling wise, like training wise. And I mean, I think for the most part, we are sticking to that. And we have like team fitness sessions, which I think they fall in like the middle of the night for me. So I don't join those, but then we also have like with Ride with GPS, who's one of our sponsors, we also have like team goals. So I think we're meant to be riding about 7 or 8 hours a week as training. And so we keep tabs on each other in that way. So yeah, I mean, there's a heap of responsibilities that we have, which is good because especially when, you know, with COVID-19, it's kind of nice to have somebody on your back telling you and reminding you what you should be doing. So, I mean, it's helped us as a team, and it's also helped us, I think it's helped me personally as well, just to remain focused.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Any questions? Cool. Let's see. So I mean, with COVID-19, it's kind of thrown a loop in terms of the events that you would have ridden. What were some of the things that you had planned to do, and have you kind of shifted?
So we still getting used to this whole like being on the Muppet Show thing. So we had been planning on let's see, for 2020 for going to the race in Kansas, to Gravel Worlds in Nebraska, to Grinduro, and to Steamboat. And I think that as things got pushed and as things got canceled, it was just kind of like, well, 2020 is a wash. Is there anything we can do? But the goal was to just show up to these kind of 4 big races and race our hearts out. Without, and I think it's almost kind of nicer that the season hasn't played out, because, like Georgia said, not all of us have been able to meet in one place, and so the fact that we do to some degree talk almost every day, I think going back to that team aspect at least has allowed us to get to know each other in a way that we wouldn't have known if we had just been thrown together and been like, hey, we showed up in Kansas and go race. And so yeah, it's a bummer that they've gotten canceled, but yeah, I think, and then obviously within our respective geographical areas, I think, we each wanted to do some smaller races that were just here and fun. There is a very unofficial race happening in Olympia, Washington, hopefully in December, that maybe some of us will go to, but that's like so unofficial that there's an Instagram post saying it exists. That's it. There's no timer. There's no sponsors. You don't get anything for showing up. So I don't know if that counts, but it'll still be fun. So yeah, and for next year, we're just trying to see, fingers crossed that Mid-South will be able to happen in March, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Right.
Nice. So what you're saying,
Yeah,
is you haven't really had a chance yet to get competitive with each other.
There we have it. It's actually, that's something that I kind of always, because I haven't participated in a race too. So I'm very like, what is going to be happening? What should I expect? But I kind of love that, because I know I'm not going to be experiencing it alone, and I'll have a group of people to kind of be like, yeah, you're doing things good, or like, come on, let's keep the pace up. Yeah, I think that the one I was really bummed out about all the races canceling, but when we had that one like very tiny glimpse of hope of Grinduro, California happening, I was excited, because we were going to hopefully plan like a gathering space as well as we could during the pandemic. But I was really excited about that, because it was a way for us to kind of add something to the race that's more than just the race itself. It's like before having a conversation, getting to meet people. They also managed to reach that 50-50 ratio, which is an awesome feat, and I was so excited to see that in person. But alas, until whenever that decides to happen.
Nice. Well, question. So here's one. So what's I'd love for each of you to answer this. Like, why do you feel like something like WTF, Explorers should or has to exist? Start with you, Georgia.
I don't want to go first.
You might have to.
Okay. Well, I find this hard to answer. I mean, I think it should exist, and I think it needs to exist. And I am pretty new to, I would say that I was on the edge of the conversation for the past couple of years, and was more of a watcher and just trying to understand why people were talking about this, because being in Australia as well, sort of a little bit removed. We don't have as much diversity as you do in the States. So I was trying to catch up. I was absorbing a lot of information, and I sort of was self-teaching as well, reading, trying to understand why the conversation was happening, and with more and more intensity as well. And then finally it clicked. It clicked even more when I sort of was involved in the team as well, and listening firsthand of the experiences of my teammates, and watching and further reading, listening to what people were experiencing. And even as just a woman in the cycling scene in Australia, I've been cycling probably 10 years, and I was courier, a bike messenger in Sydney and in London during that time. And it is really hard, but I never, and this is probably throwing me under the bus, but I kind of enjoyed how difficult it was to muscle my way through. But I'm like one tier down from a white man, basically. So it's not that difficult for me to find the spaces. So if I was to like times that by 100, I think that I would absolutely not be in the place that I am in now, where I'm happy and healthy and have a group of people around me. And my life would be very different. And if I was to like look at my parallel life, like sliding doors, I don't think that I would be nearly as happy or fulfilled in my life if I didn't have the groups around me. And so I think it's absolutely important to be able to give that to opportunity to as many people as possible, because then you make happy, healthy people and you have a happy, healthy community. So yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's super important. It's just like, why not as well? Like there's so much energy to be spread around, and there's so much support that we can give to people that would just make their lives so much better. And I think that that in turn would just make everybody's life better. I don't know, that's a pretty like high level like answer. It's probably really vague, but that's why I think for me it's kind of important, because I've received so much help from a community that just being as a white woman, I've been sort of easy to access, and I can't imagine what it would be like for people that were different, or not different, but just like, you know, from a marginalized community, or from people that don't feel welcomed. Like, I mean, it does change your attitude, it changes your confidence levels, and you just don't perform as well. So yeah, I mean, my mom has always said, set people up to succeed and they'll do amazing things. And so yeah, I just want to help set people up to succeed.
Right.
How's that?
Cool. Nat, do you want to go? You're on mute, so.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I think we need a WTF community because representation matters. And I think everybody knows that the conversation around the cycling industry and how it's no longer just, it never really should have been just about bikes. It should have been the people on the bikes, right? And their experiences and where they come from. And I think having an intentional community like that really invites people to try. I think the hardest thing about these events is like there isn't an opportunity to just try, right? And really, to shout out Grindero again, they had a route called the Grindurito, which is like a mini version of the race that wasn't timed or anything, but was just an invitation for people to try. And we did get a few messages about it saying like, hey, I've never really done this kind of thing before. Do you think this type of event would do well for me? And just saying that, having those conversations and being like, yes, you are welcome, you are invited. And as Georgia mentioned, we can set you up to succeed when you try is really important. And I think that's what I want for people to understand, that there is a place to try. And there are ways that race organizers can help support those people who just want to try.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, piggybacking off of what's already been said, that, you know, there are a number of us on the team, myself included, who are used to showing up, if not at races, then at organized rides, and we don't see anyone else like us. You know, we don't see for those of us who, I guess, who care, we don't see pros who are like us, and so it's hard to have role models, you know, who are just kind of like doing the thing. And I don't mean like who are winning the Olympics. I mean who are going out there and riding their bikes and having fun. And so I think, on top of everything that's being said, that it really, to me, it really matters as a trans person, as just like seeing people, seeing support, seeing a group come together. I think we've had a lot of folks, as soon as Sarah kind of announced the team, have come out of the woodwork to help us. I think that Grindero is a great example of people really wanting to be supportive allies. But it you know, there are times where it really sucks. And I think that it's really just important to be there and to be truthful about all the sides of it. And I think that, you know, we were chatting about this the other week in kind of preparation for this call, and I had kind of actually forgotten about it, but I was riding at a race, at a kind of shakeout ride beforehand, and a kid came up to me, and we were just kind of chatting and rolling about, and he came out to me, and I'm 33, I've never had a little kid, and I feel like I look like I'm 22, come up to me and be like, you're an adult who, like, you're what I might grow up into, and it was really, in that moment that was like a reminder of, like, I love racing, but I also, I keep doing this because I want my community to expand, and I want people to really be able to love bikes and not feel like they have to leave an aspect of their identity at the door when they enter a space, because I feel that way often, and usually I'm pretty vocal about who I am and what I do, and so I think that's a really big part of us showing up, is saying we are trying to represent the community that hasn't been highlighted before. And you should listen to us, not because we're this team that people kind of know about on the internet, but because we're trying to call in many folks who haven't previously, been called upon.
Right. Can you guys talk a little bit about why being visible matters?
Like, do you mean like?
I mean,
like
instead of just participating in an event and writing it, but like you're really having the banner out for people to rally around.
As coming together as a named group and saying, we're here and we're not just doing this individually because I personally want to ride this event, but that you're doing it loud and proud.
Yeah.
I like this quote that I saw the other day. It's like, you can't be what you can't see, or something like that. And like, there might be somebody that, muscles their way through and is strong enough to just do something on their own way. But I think having representation does make a big difference. Because I remember when I was originally starting to cycle, I was obsessed with this woman who was couriering in London, and she had a blog, and I then suddenly felt like, yeah, that's definitely something I want to do. And without that, I don't know if I would have had that. And then she went on to bike touring, and so I also went on to bike touring, and then it's really just sort of shaped like my future. So having that person, that one woman, I reached out to her a couple of times, and she's in one of the bar of me. So she's like been knocked off her pedestal now because she wasn't communicating with me. But originally just being able to see somebody doing that made such a big difference. And you can take it or you leave it. Like, if there's somebody there that you really connect with, then you run with that. And if you don't connect with it, that's fine.
Right.
But at least it's there. Yeah.
Things are always better together, something that was really cool from gravel camp when we were having a reflection after the 3 days of riding, and I thought the hotel was just about to start the next day. People were just invited to share their thoughts, and a lot of people commented on how felt it good to ride with a group of people who were there intentionally and with a purpose, and how that really changed the experience of riding. And it's such a beautiful thing. And and I think we want to keep on doing that. And hopefully with participating in different races throughout the different parts of the country, people can experience that with us, because it's really awesome.
Yeah.
I think that there's this kind of going off what Georgia said, that this, you can't, I think a lot of times the cycling community on various levels, both racing and not, has kind of believed that, there aren't that many people of color here because people of color don't ride bikes. There aren't very many trans people because trans people don't ride bikes. And so part of it is obviously saying that's not true. We haven't been either invited into the space, or we have kind of anticipated having a bad time, so we've stayed away. And so that, for me, it's also really, really important to kind of push back on that. But I can only speak from my own experiences, but I think that we all have identities that have had not great times within this community for various reasons. But I think right now, especially, that that trans folks are having kind of a moment where the focus is on trans women a lot, and the idea of cheating and all that. And I'm not here to debate that, but the idea is to, for me, I want to show up in any time and be like, I believe that sport and participation is a right. And I think it's important to show up and say, if you have all these beliefs and you're going to say things like, you're hurting a community, you're hurting me. And so I don't want to sit here and like be the party pooper, but I think that it's for me, it's so much about having fun, but it's about being visible and say, all of your preconceived notions are probably wrong. And if I can, and the other thing is that I think we've all seen people be like shitty on the internet, excuse my language, toward members of our community within cycling by members of the cycling community. And so I'd like to push back and be like, okay, you said that on some YouTube comments, come and say it to my face. So, and I don't mean that as a threat. I just mean like, it's just really important, because I think that it becomes this echo chamber of like, we can be people, we can say these things on the internet, and then no wonder why no one wants to come to your event.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing. I just remember one time having someone reply to a thought that I had and say, "Oh, really? BIPOC people they're just not interested in the outdoors. That's why they're not out there." And I was just like, "Well, then who am I then?" Like, it's really hurtful reading that kind of stuff on the internet, and sometimes. Like seeing some of the comments, when Grandero was even just sharing the idea of having a 50-50, the amount of ignorance that popped up. And so it's difficult sometimes being in that space and having to navigate those spaces, but I think it's worth it because,
So I guess, knowing that, especially like events and racing and that sort of, that aspect of the bike world is and can be so exclusive and not accessible. Like, what is it about racing, about events that is so appealing? What is it that you want to be a part of?
I guess, I don't want to, I think for me, like, I kind of fell into racing accidentally. I grew up outside New York City and like saw people in the early 90s, like in spandex. And I was the weird kid who was like, I want to do that. And it's just something I have no idea, much to the chagrin of my parents. And I think the thing is that like, there's something about racing that is fun, and it's fun to push yourself. And I have friends who are like, I never want to pay money to do something on my bike. And I'm like, but somehow when I like give someone $10, I'm just like, now I have to do it, and, right. And maybe I need to talk to a shrink about that. But there's something about it. Like, I love this. And there's been many times where I've wanted to walk away for the reasons we said, but I keep coming back because I feel amazing when I'm on my bike, and I feel amazing when I push myself, and sharing that with a community like just makes it even better. And I don't think that there's another community out here, that gets it the way. I don't know anything about running. Maybe they do too, but I just feel like the cycling community just has the ability to have this huge swath of people who want to race and race hard and podium, but like, or just want to push themselves. I think that as a devoted watcher of you two, like, I feel like you do some epic stuff, and like, yeah, maybe you don't have a stopwatch going, but like, that's awesome. And like, that's a big thing for me too. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have thoughts about events?
Yeah, I just want to infiltrate, I just want to sneak my way in and be like, I'm here. Everyone come along. That's what I'm really interested in, just to see what it's like, and just to show up and take up space and welcome other people to do it. I'm insidious.
Yeah, Laura and I were talking about this before. In some ways, racing or competitive cycling, that's basically the main pillar of cycling. Let's be real. It's like what the industry pays attention to. It's what they put R&D funding. It's what they put sponsorship money into. It's essentially the only type of cycling that matters to the bike industry as a whole. So I think that's, in that sense, it makes sense to kind of infiltrate or kind of change that main pillar, rather than just start something that they're not even gonna pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a really good point.
yeah. Like I kind of personally, I feel like if the only people who are racing are, if there's just one type of person who's racing, then that's the only type of person that bikes are ever going to be made for. And so if we want to expand the kinds of bikes and the kind of biking that's out there and all the gadgets that go along with it, then there needs to be more than just that one kind of tall white male.
Yeah, like even just
So tall.
like even like just looking at bicycle touring, brands ignored it for a very long time until people raced it, and then all of a sudden you saw all this innovation in bags and materials, and Cervelo's got a bike packing gravel, whatever. But it wasn't until it was being raced, because that's essentially the only thing that matters sometimes for the industry, that that they start to pay attention. So
yeah,
that is a really good point. I've never really thought about it that way. I feel like we just found a secret.
infiltrate. Yeah. Which doesn't mean that can't be changed. I think it's just, it's been that way for a long time, right? That's how the industry's made its bread and butter for so long. So I guess, like what, when you think of where, the gravel team is going, the potential, hopefully next year, of actually doing events and stuff, what's your grand vision? Like, where do you want this to go? I guess sky's the limit, but what do you, what do you see as the future?
Well, I'm such a visual person. So for me, it's just all about, just how do I say this without sounding like an idiot? But just looking the best, and just being super strong, and just having people, being really good riders, being sort of seen as something to aspire to. Not that if our team changes and new members come through and others drop off, I think that's cool. And just being something that is anticipated to attend events, and people are excited to hang out with us. I think that would be sweet. So for me, that's the top pillar.
Nice.
I just want to see people, be like, oh, I started riding because it was fun, and I want to be around more people who want to have fun. And maybe it's at a race, and maybe it's just at, some sort of organized, untimed thing. And I think that what's really exciting is races like Sarah Swallow, who's our team director, Ruta del Jefe, or Georgia is going to put on her Grand Prix down in Australia, is the idea that races can be very loosely, have the loose connotation of race, and there's a start and there's a finish, and hopefully you get from one end to the other. And that's a lot of fun too. I would love to see more of these kind of DIY, it's just about having fun, and can you do it? I think that this year I wasn't at Ruta, but I know it was really hard. The weather made it really, really hard, and everyone was just there was no podium. It was just wow, we finished. And so I think that I love a mix of the big races. I have an affinity for Mid-South. I think that Bobby and Crystal do an amazing job, and really are great about listening to their community and trying to represent the community. But I think that there's just also, it's why are we adhering to just, one size of race? Why can't we have, any kind of just anything? I think that you can have I think races where you have the kind of most ridiculous bike possible. So, how can you ride a fat bike on tarmac? I don't know. Let's try, That's the thing, is that I see, I live in Seattle, and I see a lot of really serious race types, and every time I see these people when I'm out riding, like they don't look like they're having fun. Like I want to see races that are about having fun, and obviously it's about pushing yourself and it's about going hard, but like I think that for too long, like it's one of the exclusivity parts about it is because it's like there's only one way to do it, and that's to get fast and then end up on the podium. But you know, I don't know. I don't think I can look as good as Jams, but if there's a category about looking good, like why not? You know, I'll try. I'll try real hard to look good. And I think, you know, I think that
You look good.
I showered just for you. But I think that, you know, for me, one of the biggest, like, I got super excited when Salsa decided to sponsor Crystal Kovacs, who, if folks don't know, is a very nice person. And she is, I think, pretty middle of the pack. And like that was huge. You know, a brand was like, no, we see you being very dedicated to riding and to representing. And I think also, you know, I realize I'm on a little bit of a tangent, but I would love to see this kind of, you know, we're all stuck at home to be like eventually let out into the world. Like I'd like to see the bike industry and the race scene be like, you know what? We're just going to refocus because we're all sick of seeing like skinny white dudes. Like, let's get whoever. Maybe someone will sponsor you, Russ. And then you can come back. You know, you can ride a Rivendell on a mountain bike course. You can, you know. But I think that's the thing. It would be just great if we just kind of blew apart this mindset of that racing is only one thing and good for only one type of person.
Yeah.
That I can get behind that.
Right? Or like, how many cookies can you eat in 100 miles?
Right.
If folks are looking for more specific answers on how race organizers can be really intentional with their planning of races and how they can kind of expand and improve their races, we are working on a event kind of checklist with different suggestions. It's not finished yet, but it's in the works. So hopefully we'll be able to send that out to the world so that, you know, everyone can get on this boat of making their races better. I mean, for me, it really starts with getting rid of gender categories, to be honest. Those can go away.
Cool. Well, speaking of races and events, should we touch on the Grand Prix? What exactly is it?
Well, yeah, so it's the Grand Prix, which is like a bit of a play on the word Grand Prix, which is like in Formula One, like car racing sort of thing. And my dad's big into car racing, so I kind of liked it for that as well. But it is really just like trying to get a slice of the pie that you guys have with all these great events in the US and bring it down under, like in Australia. I spend a lot of time stateside, and I've really got to enjoy what you guys enjoy. And we don't have anything, as far as I know, that even comes close to having as much fun at events as you guys do, especially like Granduro and that sort of stuff. So and then I did the Ruta del Jefe in February and had such a great time, even though I mean, like Izzy mentioned, the weather was like pretty bad and I sort of walked plenty of it, and a lot of people it was chaos, and I love that. So I'm hoping to just bring a bit of chaos to Australia and bring all the things that Natalia was talking about, how we're creating like a bit of a checklist for how events can be better. And yeah, I'm just trying to tick all those boxes and seeing what it takes to do that, and trying to make it look really easy and try to make it look really fun. And I'm trying to make it really popular, because that way like other event organizers, at least here in Australia, can want what we have and do it themselves. So it's like a method of change. It's like a Trojan horse sort of thing, like just like infiltrating by like putting on what is going to be a very difficult ride. It's a 200-kilometer, it's about 125 mile, 11,000-ish feet of climbing gravel ride. And we're aiming for that 50-50 ratio, and we've like got a lot of support for people who need, like, if they've got any financial barriers, I'm just throwing money at them because they should come without having those barriers. And we've got a lot of sick support from people who want to get behind this event, which has probably been the most exciting thing for me, is that when I reach out and tell them about what we're trying to do just in Australia, they're like, yeah, we definitely want to get behind that. So like, these are big companies as well, and so their ears are open. I think that is really exciting, and they're ready to throw their resources at this sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, the scene is changing, and like, being now an event organizer, although I mean, I don't know if you guys know the Fire Island. Does everyone know Fire Island? Yeah.
Oh my God, what
it's
a
like
disaster.
it's like this really expensive festival that people, I don't know who it was funded by, and then it turned out to be an absolute shit show. Yeah, I feel like that's what the Grand Prix is going to be like. So we're marketing it as like the Fire Island of the cycle. But
I don't want you to go to jail.
Does that mean you're going to get your own Netflix special after?
Yeah, I mean, without the jail bit, and I mean, I don't want to like. There'll be better food than, like, you know, a Vegemite sandwich. My mom is being the caterer, so she makes, it's all like vegan, gluten-free food. Like, it's just, yeah.
Do you
it's
have?
just gonna be fun.
Are there dates yet? Do you know what time of year or when?
Yeah, so it's the 21st of November, and it's in like sort of just before summer hits, but this is lower snowy mountains in the Australian landscape, so it still can be quite cold. I mean, weather can be pretty haphazard, so yeah, it's 21st of November, and it also could be called off if the scene changes here with COVID. I mean, that's sort of priority as well. So
yeah, have you opened up registration or?
Yeah, registration has been open for about a week, and we're nearly at, so I've just like divided the two categories of like to get the 50-50 ratio. So we're pretty much sold out of the male category, and then I've just got a bit of a like task to drag the people who aren't quite sure whether they can do it or want to do it out of the shadows, and awesome.
Nice.
The worst part is that none of us are allowed out of the country, or else the team would all go to Australia.
Well, if there's a 20...
we are barred from entering.
Yeah, I mean, I'm barred from exiting Australia, so this is like, I mean, a form of entertainment for me as well. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I think everyone on the team. Oh, sorry.
Do a virtual Zwift event.
Yeah.
I'm going to be setting up like a little altar on the 21st and light some candles.
Yeah.
And my energy out there.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice.
We're all very jealous that Georgia gets to put on a race.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe in the future the team can host a race too. I'm finding that it's actually not that difficult. So yeah, I mean, anybody can do it. If I can do it, then like a group of 11 very cool and enthusiastic people can absolutely do it.
Nice.
I think that's actually a good point, is that I've had a number of people reach out and be like, are you holding a race at any point? Like, is that part of your team and, you know, duties or whatever? And I hadn't thought about it, but I think that also shows that there's really this idea that, you know, if members of the community you trust can throw an event, it will probably be pretty good. I like to think that not only because we're like pretty intelligent humans who are semi-organized, that we could pull off an event, but I think that there's definitely this need for it, and to have organizers who don't look like the regular, you know, the normal organizers, and will do fun stuff. And I saw someone say in the comments they want 1 cookie per mile, and if we're ever at a race together, I will challenge you to that, because that's my race food is cookies. So
nice. So we're nearing the hour mark. How about, I've got 2 more questions. Let's see where this one goes. What's being on the team? What's the biggest thing that you've gained from being on the team?
Hey.
Natalia, you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess to not be afraid to ask questions and to really reach out when you need help. I'm so lucky to be part of a team where everyone's really knowledgeable and everyone has like great insight. And so really, and I think we harness this within the team, right? To be able to ask questions whenever you want, or to speak your mind on something if something's bothering you, or if you want to change the way the team is doing something, to speak up. And so that's definitely been a lesson for me, to not be afraid to ask questions.
Nice. Izzy?
I mean, I think besides having a captive audience to tell dad jokes all the time, I think that it's just been kind of going off what Nat said, that also just having a group of people that really want to learn together and realize that like we're kind of in uncharted territory at times, and we're gonna mess up at times, but we're here to learn and grow with each other is super exciting. And we're here to also challenge each other. And so it's nice to have a mini supportive community that spans across the country and across the world, working together to achieve these goals.
Yeah. Cool.
For me, I think being able to witness the impact of support and how it sort of changes and makes people's lives easier, and being able to watch my teammates really sort of like go in chest first into new experiences and seeing the impact it has on their lives and their confidence. And because I've always just been like a bit of a solo rider, like not really like this is sort of the first bit of community that I've really like been involved in, sort of. Yeah, I mean, in like such an intimate way, and being able to witness like support from the industry and how that makes an impact to people's lives, and then it like sort of watching people just move up and lean into their experiences and the impact of what like a little bit of effort from like my part or other people's part, how big of a change it can make for people's lives, and being able to talk to my teammates and seeing that how excited they are by things and like motivated by things, that's been cool.
Sweet.
Nice.
Cool. Any last minute questions?
Did you say you had another question?
Oh, that I did, but I feel like that's such a nice one to wrap up the live stream with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That was cool.
That was good. Well said. Well said. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for being on the live stream and sharing your experiences and just educating people a little bit more about the team and your mission and what you all do. You guys in the chat, sorry I haven't been dipping in there, but I just really wanted to hear what they have to say. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this live stream. And yeah, what's going on this week?
I don't know. We're gonna go camping.
Yeah, we're gonna go camping tomorrow, but there is going to be a bike review of a bike that's still embargoed. It's gonna go up on Thursday. So first time for the channel, we get to actually review a bike before it gets released into mass production. So that's big news.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I'm just excited. I think I am excited to see where Gravel Team is going to go, and hopefully it'll expand and more people will be interested and join, or maybe start their own team that's really just focused on kind of changing the dynamics. So
yeah,
it'll be fun to watch. I'm not interested in racing, so I'm gonna watch. Cheer you on from the side.
I mean, I feel like I personally learned a lot. Like I spoke with Izzy yesterday, and I think one of the questions they asked you was like, "Why a team? Why that structure?" And listening to how you all have individually benefited, not just from the sports side, but in terms of the support, I can totally see the benefits of having a team.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Cool.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, with all that, thank you. I want to give a big thanks to our guests for joining us on the live stream tonight. And thank you guys in the YouTube chat for hanging out for an hour And I think that's it. Oh, one more big thanks to our Patreon supporters. You guys make this content possible. And as always, everyone, good night and keep the supple side down.